Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio. Today is November the 8th, and Julie and I are writing a series of podcasts for all of you for the rest of the year because we always use an outline. And the podcasts are going to be centered around keeping you guys educated, motivated, and mostly getting you into action, because it's very easy to slip into neutral and write out the rest of the year and not really get anything done and rationalize that you're just going to somehow find the energy and the motivation to get it all done. As soon as somehow when January 1st rolls around, all of a sudden you find your new self.
Yes,
right?
Assuming it's sunny, there's not a snowstorm, and you feel pretty good.
Right. And so what we've noticed and what we're going to do, again, for the rest of this year, is we're going to do everything in our power to educate you guys and motivate you and then help you get into action. So please do listen to every single podcast. Some of you, we do see on our numbers that will nod off, basically. You know, you'll go into your turkey catatonic state here in a couple weeks, right?
After they crash from their Halloween candy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't do that, because the fact is that this is the most important time of the year if you are hoping to have a really wonderful next year. It is all intertwined. Julie, why is that so true?
Well, I mean, I think that your fourth quarter definitely sets you up for your first quarter. And, you know, that's a really risky time of year because it's so easy to just fall out of your routines, to get distracted by lots of different things. And if you have kids, you've got all these kid events going on, distracted by the holidays. It's all good distractions, but it's easy to get out of the habits that made you successful in the first place. So our job is to keep you on track, to keep you motivated as best we can, because your first quarter does really determine how good of a year you're going to have. If your first quarter sucks, it's so hard to get back on track. It just is. It's a fact. So I think that's why.
And a lot of the things that you lose, like for example, if you do coast for a month, let alone 2 months, a lot of your sales skills that most of you were developing or just getting started developing, or maybe you're really good at certain things, they're perishable skills. So if you stop practicing them, you're not going to just snap your fingers and pick up where you left off. You're going to actually have taken more steps back than you can imagine. And I'll give you an example. Julie, you're the example. So
Okay.
Julie was a professional musician. Some of you guys know that she played in orchestras. She was a music major. She went to Ohio State University. She was a school of music. She used to play flute and piccolo. Ever since I met her when she was a kid, that's pretty much what her obsession was. And she played for the first time. And how long did you play for it? I mean, it was
Probably,
2 years, 8 years maybe.
7 or 8, yeah.
Yeah, and it was not. I described that, and there's something you used
It's
to
awkward.
used to practice every single day.
And the culmination was playing in Pacific Symphony, which was really awesome. But to get there, excuse me, it was not just a few practice room sessions. It was years of practice virtually every day. And all of my music teachers said the same thing. They said, when you miss a day of practice, you are not just missing that day. You're missing at least 2 days, because when you get back to it, you have to get back to where you were when you left off.
Yep, and most everything is skills-based is like that.
Sure. I mean, think about exercise, right?
Right.
How fun is it to take a week off the gym and then go and do your normal workout?
Well, that's the problem with taking a week off, because if you take a week off, then you go back and you feel like the gym hates you.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's actually easier to be consistent than not.
That is ultimately the bottom line.
Counterintuitive, but
and
true.
Completely, and that's the problem with taking too much time off this time of year. With that said, take time off this time of year.
Yeah, but not the whole month.
Right, not the whole month, let alone 2 months.
Seriously.
So what we're going to be talking with you guys about today is the Optimist's Guide to 2022. And all of you are salespeople, or if you're not a salesperson, if you're not acknowledging yourself as a salesperson, start there, because that is what you have to be in the mindset you have to have. A salesperson is just somebody who, is a professional that solves other people's problems through hopefully a scripted skills approach. But ultimately, all of us are optimists, and otherwise you couldn't very well be a real estate practitioner, because you have to be an optimist to want to get into this business, because it's oftentimes the very definition of a thankless business. But here's the thing that's wonderful about real estate. It is without a doubt the best industry for anybody to get into, especially at this point in history. It doesn't cost much to get in. It takes a lot to stay in. And that's ultimately, and I don't mean it takes a lot of money to stay in. It takes a lot of time, effort. It takes a lot of, work, real honest to God work. But really, what we want to share with you guys today are the reasons why, and these are just some of the handful of reasons that Julie and I sort of brainstormed on and came up with, but maybe 10 or 15 points, and why now is the best time ever for you to be you on planet Earth with a real estate license selling real estate.
That's right. And I even took a kind of a little bit more holistic approach to people in general as I was getting ready to put this together. And I did a lot of research on optimists. They, believe it or not, there's been research on optimists versus pessimists. So here's some facts that we'll start with. We always like to do a little mindset stuff first. So here's some facts for you. Optimists are healthier, wealthier, and happier. I was surprised by some of these facts. Optimists believe that great things will happen. Pessimists are always worried that bad things are coming. They look for confirmation that this is true. So which are you, or what is your tendency? Do you tend to believe good things will happen, or that there's doom and gloom in the future?
You want to level off there because I know
Sure.
you're teeing me up.
Yep.
So here's the thing: if you don't believe that tomorrow is going to be better than today, the reality of it is you will do things today to make it so that tomorrow won't be better than today. Mm-hmm. And if you've been doing that for a long period of time, then that's the reason that you maybe feel like the best years of your life are behind you. Because what we're going to hopefully convince you of are, no matter how old you are, is your best years can be ahead of you if you choose for them to be. But go back to the point that Julie just made. Do you believe that tomorrow will be better or worse than today? And what actions are you taking as a result of your actual thinking? So what happens is if you succumb to believing that tomorrow won't be better than today, you're going to start surrounding yourself with people, things. You're going to start filling your life with reinforcements. And maybe first of all, it starts as a little subversive. Maybe you're watching too much CNN or watching too much of this or reading too much of that, right? And so all of a sudden you start feeling a little bit like the Thanksgiving turkey that gets plucked one feather at a time. Mm-hmm. But slowly then you start to realize that essentially you've surrounded yourself not with just little media things that are reinforcing the idea that, the dark days are coming, but also people, experiences. You're going to start living as if, essentially tomorrow is some sort of dystopian, horribleness.
That's right. And, as you were talking, I was thinking about, even on a micro level, the decisions we have to make to reset our mindset. I was thinking about Zoe dragging her butt to school today. She was like, didn't want to carry her backpack. I don't want to go to school. School's boring. She was in this pessimistic attitude, right? And every morning I have to say, you're going to love school. You're going to learn stuff. You're going to see your friends. And we name her friends who are waiting for her in the classroom. But still, we have to reset her mindset. And then we walk up the path to school and she sees one of her best friends, May. And all of a sudden, she's in the most optimistic mindset ever. And they're playing and they're having fun and they're dancing together. And now she's off to the races.
That's environment, though. That's a very nice example of how an 8-year-old turns her mindset around.
But yes, just like on a dime, right? But it took some work. It took some influence, right?
Whereas
so we all deal with that.
Whereas if May was in a similar mood, surrounded by other people that was all in a downward situation,
that's right.
She's going to
essentially
every single day is going to get worse.
Yeah, you got to watch this stuff.
But it affects you mentally, obviously, as we're talking about mindset. Mm-hmm. But it also then will start to manifest itself physically, and then of course financially. All these things are dominoes that you can control. And if you do find yourself in this downward, this adult failure spiral type thing, you can stop it. You can stop it, but you have to start by recognizing it.
Exactly. So more than 70,000 people were studied and surveyed by researchers at Harvard. The studies showed that optimists have a 15% increase in lifespan, which is the equivalent of living to 90 instead of 80. That's significant. And here's the fact: the more optimistic you are, they just proved it, the longer you're going to live. Well, why is that? Optimists have lower levels of inflammation and more, quote, good cholesterol. They have the it's too soon to tell attitude, but they err on the side of positivity. They believe that they have the ability to create their future and to shape their own outcome. They own their life trajectory. And I think that was one of the major points that was in virtually every article I read about this, was the belief that they're in control of their own future. So Frost Bank studied 2,000 banking clients. They discovered that optimists enjoy 7 times higher level of financial well-being as self-reported. They did a bunch of surveys on this. They are more likely to save. They're more likely to seek financial advice, to set financial goals, and believe they are able to control their financial future. They take more action. I thought that was an interesting study.
Well, I mean, but it's also kind of obvious, right? If you're believing that tomorrow's going to be better than today, if you're believing that if you're looking forward to through goal setting,
Sure.
if you're looking forward to basically doing things with your life, you're going to have to start setting yourself up to have longer range financial plans,
Sure.
right? And if you think you're only going to live to a certain, age and you're maybe subconsciously setting yourself up to make that a reality.
Or that you believe that you don't have control over it. I'm just going to earn what I'm going to earn. It's more like a victim mentality.
Exactly. And by the way, if you've not completed your 2022 business plan, it's why. Why haven't you done it yet? There's the question you have to be asking yourself. We made it very easy for you. All you've got to do is text the numbers 2022 to 47372. Text the numbers 2022 to 47372. We'll text you back. You're going to say, yes, you want the treasure map. We're then going to text you back a link so you can download the treasure map. And the treasure map is 63 pages. This is our newly updated for 2022 real estate treasure map. Fill in the blank. Real estate treasure map. The first section, probably 80% of this guide we're going to give you, this book we're going to give you, is explaining exactly how to go about goal setting. A lot of essentially the real drill down things that maybe some of you have been missing. There's a reason that most people start the year out by setting goals, and usually by early spring they've forgotten what their goals are. It's because they haven't gone through the whole process that we're going to take you through with the real estate treasure map. So if you're finally serious about making your life noticeably, marketably, significantly better, because you can. Your life does not have to be peaks and valleys. Your life can be a consistent, ever-improving state, financially, physically, mentally, psychologically, spiritually, familially. You can be constantly improving all facets of your life if you choose to, but you've got to have a specific plan to do it. Nothing's going to happen by chance. So text the numbers 2022 to 47372, and we'll text you back a way to download our 2022 business plan. So go ahead and text 2022, those numbers, to 47372, and we will send you the information as promised.
All right, perfect. So a couple of more points to be thinking of as we then roll into specific reasons why to be optimistic about 2022 and beyond. First one is recognize that every day you are the result of every past decision you've made up to that point. And tomorrow is going to be the direct result of the decisions made today. This is when we talk about you're going to either say, thank you, past Bob, or Bobette, okay, versus, oh my gosh, what were you thinking, past Bob or Bobette?
Do you want to drill down on that?
Well, so if the actions and habits taking place today will make you a better tomorrow, and that pattern continues daily, that's how you become your best self.
So this is the past, thanking the past version of yourself. I don't even know where we got that. This is something Julie and I have done forever. We've been married for 3 decades, so we oftentimes will forget where we picked up things. But when we're enjoying something in the moment, one of the ways that we make ourselves present in the moment, we've coached, hundreds of thousands of you to do the same thing, is you have to overtly thank the past version of you that made that present version of you being able to enjoy that moment. And if you find yourself in some beautiful, place when all the stars seemed aligned, that's not from what you did at that moment. That's from many things you've done in the past.
Lots of decisions.
Right. And especially now where we're seeing such marketable inflation, and maybe you bought a rental property 20 years ago and that rental property quadrupled in price. You need to thank the past version of you that did that. Now, the counterbalance to that is also true. If there's aspects of your life that you don't like now, Julie and I don't want you to go and hate on the past version of you, but just realize the past version of you made decisions with the allocation of their time and their effort, and basically made decisions consciously or unconsciously to make it so that your present version, your current form, is not where you otherwise could have been. You see? So be making decisions now so that the future version of you is going to be singing praises about the current version of you.
That's right. So one way to do that is to ask yourself, where are the decisions I'm making today going to lead me? Because there will be a future looking back at today, right? And am I better today than I was yesterday? And do I have goals in place which are leading me to my best future self?
So do a little exercise right now. I want you to thank yourself right now for 5 things that the past version of you did really well. Go ahead and do that in your head.
It is a month of gratitude after all.
It is, absolutely. So why don't you name 5 things right now that you are, maybe your house. You could start out with real rudimentary things. Maybe you're enjoying your caffeine buzz like Julie and I are right now. So you're thanking the past version of you for being insightful enough to give you a little, caffeine shot. Whatever it is, right? You can pick up small little tiny things or pick up significant things. Find things right now that you're grateful for that the past version of you had decided to do. Now ask yourself, what is it that those things, where are those things? You feel them. Don't just say the words, feel the emotions of being grateful for those things. Now here's the interesting thought. What do you choose to have the 6 months, 12 months, 6 years, 60 years from now, the future version of you? What is that person who's going to be essentially the same person? What are the future version of you going to be thanking the present version of you for having done? I'm going to imagine it's going to be fairly obvious. In some cases, it's going to be getting in better physical shape, better financial shape, improving your relationships, or maybe just on a very core level, maybe it's going to be learning how to be a really great listing agent, which is what we specialize in our coaching company. That's what we specialize in. When you're finally tired of chasing buyers and buying buyer leads, and you really want to learn how to take your business to the next level, we specialize in helping agents become listing agents. The future version of you, and not so distant future, will be thanking the current version of you for having listened to this podcast, Real Estate Coaching Radio, and having learned how to become a listing agent, especially if you start now prior to the new year.
Boy, listing agents are super grateful right now.
Oh,
right?
my gosh.
Especially the ones that have their inventory together going into the holidays. It's awesome. Okay, so let's jump into specifics on why to be optimistic about the 2022 and beyond. First, there's a quote from Roy Bennett. He said, "Be mindful, be grateful, be positive, be true, and be kind." Those are good words to live by. So point number one, I wanted to start out making it super practical and tactical. Here's the thing, guys. If you're in real estate, which most of you are, you can be very positive about the fact that you'll be getting a raise without asking, applying, or hoping for it in 2022 and possibly beyond. That's because as home prices increase, your commission goes right up with it. Inflation is here to stay, and though you'll pay higher prices for goods and services, you'll at least have the money to do it with. Unlike, unfortunately, some of your clients that you may be dealing with, right? So here's how inflation works. In the next 15 months through the end of 2022, Goldman Sachs is forecasting U.S. home prices will soar another 16%. And I've read reports up to 22%, but this is, I think, kind of in the middle. Goldman Sachs, 16%. While that represents a slight deceleration in the growth of home prices, which are up 17.7 over the past 12 months, simply put, the investment bank thinks the housing market frenzy set off during the pandemic has a lot more room to run.
And Julie and I are going to be doing a podcast probably next week on our 2022 real estate predictions. Make sure, if you want to really learn about inflation, because we spent a whole hour with Peter Schiff. We did a great interview with Peter last week or the week before. Go back and listen to that. It's also on YouTube. Peter Schiff, Tim and Julie Harris Inflation, and you'll love it. And the feedback on it's been fantastic. And it really, I think, helped agents understand. One of the questions that we asked them, Julie, that was really, I think, critical. And again, we're seeing it. We see it every year this time. The people come out to grab headlines, to get clicks, and start talking about a real estate correction or a real estate crash or whatever. Guys, that is nothing other than salacious, attention-grabbing garbage to make people want to click it and read it so they can try to sell you ads. That's all it really is at the end of the day. Nothing wrong with that. If that's whatever. It's commerce, right? But at the end of the day, here's what's going to happen with real estate values next year. They're going to continue to inflate. You might call it appreciation. And they will inflate to a new norm. They're not going to inflate, then deflate. And when you hear people talking about deflation, you've got to realize that most of them don't really know what they're talking about in relation to inflation. They're correlating an inflation of home values with a real estate bubble, of which we are not in a real estate bubble. We are in a money bubble. We're in an inflationary bubble. And what happens during inflation is prices go up and then they stay up. Now, they might go up and they might level off, but they don't fall. This is not like last time.
At all. So make sure you listen to that Peter Schiff interview because you guys really drilled down on that. So I'm going to prove it, what you just said, from Statista.com. I checked my facts here. The average sale price of a new home in 2020 was $389,400 in US dollars, and in 2021 it reached $408,800. Adding the predicted 16% that we took from Goldman Sachs for 2022, prices could then reach, on average, $474,208, what does that mean to our listeners? That means that your average commission selling in an average home in the U.S. has gone up between $2,000 and $3,000 per transaction. Try getting that raise from a normal job. Good luck with that. Multiply this times your average number of closed units, and you can see it really adds up. And then I wrote, nice job being a licensed real estate professional.
Yeah, and another thing that's nice about being a real estate professional is, provided you frankly know how to be a listing agent,
right,
is you might be in a market, guys, where maybe a big local employer. Well, I'll give you an example, though maybe not the greatest of examples. Tesla's moving out of where they make cars. It's not San Jose, but it's nearby.
California.
Right, California. So they're moving out of that community where they make cars. There are a lot of people that have jobs that will be moving to Texas that work for Tesla. There'll be a lot of providers to people. Like when you see a huge manufacturer that's making stuff, there's the number of other businesses that form to service that. I mean, silly things like food trucks, right? Mm-hmm. But also all the sub-suppliers, the people that are making circuit boards and all that, they're also most likely going to move to Texas. So the number of people that are going to be moving to Texas is going to be truly extraordinary. So what is that going to do? That's in that particular market, you actually might see a resetting of home values that are lower. It is possible that in parts of the country, you will see deflationary pressures that come from essentially the changing socioeconomic conditions. But overall, what we're experiencing is going to be continued inflation in home prices. And there's no reason to believe that's going to slow down. I don't want to jump on our future podcasts that we're going to do about 2022 real estate predictions, but this is what's really critical that you understand that. So if you are finding yourself searching for reasons why 2022 is going to be a real estate crash, you're falling prey to the first sub point that Jules and I made, that you're going to start reinforcing that the real estate market's going to crash. Then what are you going to stop doing? Chances are you're going to stop working hard. Chances are you're going to stop feeling motivated to go sell houses to buyers. Chances are you're not going to improve your skill set. Chances are you're going to quickly fail because you're believing that there's going to be a real estate crash. So if you read the headlines, if you like the information, maybe do some more homework on it. Don't question the motivation of whoever's spinning that particular article, and then decide what direction you should go. Understand, when it comes to real estate content, Julie and I are totally non-denominational. Our whole real estate company, our coaching company, is not predicated on the market going up or the market going down.
At all.
There's more actually opportunity for us as an organization to sell information to agents on how to survive in a shifting market, especially if markets were to reset in a downward motion. So just be understanding of that simple fact. Our business would do better if the market was actually getting worse. It just because nobody knows how to do what we'd have to teach you guys how to do to survive, let alone thrive, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't have any particular biases one way or the other. We're just telling you this information so that you can plan accordingly and make 2022 your best year ever.
That's right. That's why we give you facts and not speculation. Now, point number 2 is a really, really big, complex point. So we'll probably do this.
That's so funny you made that point number 2.
Well, I had to start with real estate. Okay, so point number 2 is going to sound a little bit woo-woo to you, okay? But singularity is near. Ooh, what does that mean? Well, read Ray Kurzweil's book that's called Singularity is Near. His last name is Kurzweil. You can find it on Amazon. Okay, so the point of technological advancement when humans move from being a body to being a pattern of information is called singularity. There's lots of movies and spins on this, but he makes some very interesting things, again, based on fact and then his predictions.
Well, let me just preface this a little bit, sweetie, because this book was written like some time ago.
Yes.
And a lot of the predictions, if you want to call them that, expectations are really what I would call them, that he made, I think it was back in maybe 2005.
Yeah,
maybe 2015. It's been a while ago. Yeah, came true.
Yes,
and it's predictable because of the nature of the technology.
The technology, which has actually happened. Now, Ray Kurzweil explains artificial intelligence, describes how redesigning the human body plus the utilization of nanotechnology, downloading consciousness, and many other futuristic developments can lead to much longer lifespans than we're used to expecting. Digest that one for a minute, listeners. Okay, he predicts that all of these technological advances will lead humans to the point of what he calls singularity. This is the point when, if people use technology the right way, they will accomplish becoming godlike, he says, and solve the world's problems. Kind of big thinking here, right? But he says that by 2025, people will make machines that are smarter than they are, and that this point is called singularity.
And this is 2022, and he's
Yes.
predicting this to happen within 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing all kinds, especially if you look at the medical advancements. So on the way to such changes, many scientific advances will occur, which humans are currently developing, which will allow humans to replicate their consciousness, genetics, robotics, nanotechnology, brain scanning, and virtual reality. Get this, doctors will be able to use technology and advancements to actually repair the human body in ways that we've already just dreamt about. For example, genetically reversing the predisposition to diseases like cancer. This is not a dream. They're absolutely already doing this. You'll be able to upgrade your body as you age. Kurzweil even predicts that immortality could be possible. Now, if that doesn't make you optimistic, what will? What will you do differently knowing that you don't have an expiration date? Or even if you knew you had 20 more years where you thought you had 10 or 40 where you thought you had 20? Would you take a better care of your mind, your body, your finances? Move towards your goals more quickly so you can lather, rinse, repeat, living the life of your dreams.
So Julie and I read this book, and to be honest with you, the book is about as thick reading as you're ever going to come across. It is insane.
Yeah.
And we didn't understand probably.
No.
Yeah,
Lots of moments.
Exactly. Well, let's just say it's a good book to have Google open while you're reading it so you can understand what the heck he's talking about. But I'll tell you that here's the punchline. So what his thesis is you need to keep your body as healthy as you can for as long as you can, because we're about to experience what will be a generational change in how essentially how people live. And different forms of medicine, different forms of things that will inevitably...
Epigenetics is a big category for that. Turning your genes on and off.
That will lead people to have longer, healthier lives. It's not just longer life for the sake of just longer life, where you're just sitting in a wheelchair hooked up to machines. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about quality of life. So what they have discovered, what they are working on, what they are actually implementing are ways to, as Julie just implied or said, is to go into your body, figure out what genes cause you, and I'll just pick this big amoebus word, to age, and then they can turn those genes off and on. But more specifically, they now know how to, for example, turn the gene off that turns your hair white, for example. They know how to turn the gene on that might cause you to, just different things, right? So the natural aging process is as determined by our genes, but also, and Julie just said this, it's also controlled by your environment. So as we're waiting for the technology to catch up with all of our ambitions, what Kurzweil's premise is, you have to maintain your health as much as you can. You have to live long enough so that you're actually part of the singularity. And then once this, I don't even know what it's called, the singularity, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Once with this new phase of human evolution actually commences, obviously, where everyone sees it's happening and talking about it, then you're going to have the benefit, if you've lived long enough to really benefit from it, which all of you should, then it's going to make it then so that you get the benefits of the second wave, the third wave, the fourth wave, the fifth wave. As things progress and get noticeably better, then you're going to be, your health...
You can take advantage of that.
Right, exactly.
So this really, he's talking about the convergence of lots of different types of technology and advancement. So biotech, biology, nanotech, all of these different things coming together to then work together. And just as you said, you have to keep yourself healthy enough to take advantage of it. It's not any different, really, than somebody having to qualify for a heart or liver transplant. Not everybody gets to be on that list if you have reasons that they're not going to risk that on you.
We just had someone very dear to us pass away from a genetic defect, Trevor Jones, and he was somebody that Julie and I loved, and he worked for us for only about a year, but he had something that hypothetically, had he been able to live long enough for the singularity to really kick in, that they could have changed his genetics and he wouldn't have had that heart defect anymore. Well, what essentially turned out to be a heart defect. So the reality of it is that all of us are right on this edge in history of being able to reset what our expectations are for life. And the last thing that Julie said there, that's really what Julie and I were, we talked about this. We talk about this topic a lot because we're, 50, and so we're thinking about longevity, but also it's because this truly is a mindset point. We're talking about the singularity, and like I said, if you guys read the book and it's thick, it's going to really
mess with your head.
It's going to mess with your head. But really, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, how would you live? How are you living now based on your expectation, granted probably subconscious, that you're only going to live as old as your parents did or your grandparents did? Are you living now a life with the expectation that you're going to live to, say, 85? What if all of a sudden you start seeing that these new medical treatments are available, preventative medical treatments, by the way, where you now can have the expectation that you're going to live to 120. Like, I think I read somewhere that Ray said, based on, and this was fairly recent, if you can live to 60 by the time the singularity and all this advancements in Medicare or medical, all the stuff we're talking about, you'll then probably be able to live to over 100. Yeah. And he said if you can live to, but the longevity is going to be expanded by 10 years in increments. And it's supposedly going to happen in the next, handful of years in front of us. Guys, this is something that is so beyond what we'd all expect, because all of us are expecting to live a certain amount of time on this planet. So, Julie and I are 50. So what if our expectation is because our parents are all live into their 90s, and on my mom's side, they live over 100, and Julie's the same way. So Julie's, you guys get it, long life, longevity type things. But what if all of a sudden, like, we're living with the expectation by the time we're, 75 or 80, maybe then you're going to be on the downward slope of life, right? That's subconsciously probably brewing around in our lives, and we're basing life plans around that. What if that's complete bullshit? What if 75 or 80 is like the new 40, right?
Right. I mean, you would make a lot of different decisions, right?
You
if
would.
you want motivation to take care of yourself, here it is. I mean, if you really want to boil it down, because it is a lot of
but you're going to have motivation
stuff.
To do more things with your life.
Do more things.
You're not going to want to become daft. You're going to want to learn more things.
Yeah.
You're going to challenge yourself with more things. You're not going to stop planning and thinking big when you reach a certain age anymore.
You're going to have your financial picture together.
For
Because
sure.
one thing you don't want to be is a 120-year-old poor person.
Yeah, 100%.
Better get it together.
Well, but it's funny you said that, though, because if you, for example, are diligently investing in things that are going to
think about that.
Yeah, you're going to have the benefit of having way more capital appreciation on your rental properties.
That you can enjoy because your quality of life will allow you to.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you touched on another thing. How many people believe that they're, what's the statistic, Julie? I don't remember. It's like 90% of everyone reaches the age of retirement, either dependent on the government or a family member or both.
That's right.
Because they've had their whole lives to, plan and save, but they didn't. What if all of a sudden you now have the and if you think about it, it's because most people probably when they reach the age of 67 don't really expect to have much of a useful quality life. I don't know the psychology, but I don't think like that.
It's things to think about for sure, though.
But what if you knew that by the time you reached 67, you were just getting started? What if when you looked in the mirror, you looked viable, you looked great, you didn't look like
and you felt good too,
and you felt great.
And if you didn't feel good, you could go to somebody, they could do some tests on you, and they could say, you know what, we're going to jimmy with this and make you feel a lot better.
That's right, and that's what we're right at the precipice of. This is what we're walking into. But you got to keep yourself healthy. You got to keep yourself mentally engaged, financially engaged. You have now, obviously, the different speculations are when this technology comes out, wealthier people are going to access to it first. And that's great because generally speaking, the wealthier people, the more wealthy people that take advantage of these things, the faster it'll drive prices down as essentially the wealthy people are the guinea pigs for the technology.
You want to have beta testers.
Exactly. That's what
you
they are.
You want to have people that are willing to put up with the risk to test your stuff to make it better.
It's like all these commercial space travel outfits.
Sure.
You're going to have probably 3, maybe 4 of them. Yeah. We all focus on Musk and Bezos and Branson, right? But there are others in parts of the world that you guys don't know about are also planning on doing commercial space travel. They're talking about building space stations and all the rest of it. And, maybe that's something
That's one of our future points, by the way.
Well, okay. Yeah. Is it really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But those are the types of things that maybe you thought to yourself when you're hearing about all this space travel and all the rest of it, you're thinking to yourself, well, that's going to be the next generation, the generation after that. What if you're going to be able to partake in that?
Well, it's already happening. I mean, Captain Kirk went like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's 90. Okay. Imagine how that blew his mind, right? I mean, think back to the original Star Treks and how that looked like an art project put together, and how big thinking that must be and how cool that is.
But
Captain Kirk went to space.
Space travel is essentially only
the next
for
frontier.
It's the next frontier, but the people doing it now are basically hundreds of millions of dollars wealthy or billionaires.
But that has to come first.
Let them go first. Let them drive the price down, and then everyone else is going to participate in it. Same with the singularity stuff, right? So as this starts to come out, notice how it's going to be a politicized thing. That's something only rich people are doing. They're going to try to spin it up as some kind of Hunger Games type thing where, it's all this crap.
Right.
Don't allow your brain to dial into that kind of thinking. Realize that the here, I'll give you the best technological advancement ever. This is the best thing to ever happen.
What?
Okay, I'm going to tell Julie this for the first time. You guys are going to listen to it.
Uh-oh.
Julie's favorite actor on the face of the planet is Daniel Craig.
Yes.
And Julie's met Daniel Craig.
I have indeed.
She has, and had a very nice conversation with him. He was a real gentleman.
He was, as you would hope.
So we have not been able to see the new James Bond,
I know.
but we're going to be able to stream it starting next week.
I know. See, this is awesome.
We can watch it on Apple TV
Yeah,
in Puerto Rico.
I know.
There,
It's amazing.
but that's technology.
That is technology.
Oh, you
and
knew?
it-
Did I tell you that already?
You did.
Oh,
But that's okay.
okay.
The big reveal I'll play along with. But, you know, that's the thing is you want, instead of people who, you know, of course you're going to hear the press hating on, oh, only the rich can go to space. You want to say, thank you for sorting that out so that it in the future can be less expensive, more safe, and you work the bugs out. I don't know how people have an issue with that. But anyway, I have to get on Facebook Live in exactly 1 minute.
Oh, crap. You're right. Sorry. So listen, those of you in our coaching program, the Facebook Live training starts every day at the same time. You get a daily semi-private coaching call. Make sure you're taking advantage of all the services we offer you guys. In the meantime, you know what to do. Text 2022 to 47372. Text 2022 to 47372. And when you do, we will text you back a copy of the Real Estate Treasure Map for 2022. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.